it's a big deal, not just because it's last night, but because it is a continuation of what has been the worst season of James Harden's career since he became a Houston Rocket. Like, you throw out the first few years in OKC when he's a rookie and then a sixth man. But since James Harden's been James Harden, this is the worst he's been, the worst he's looked, and it's not even close. And now I will give him credit, Broussard. He is getting back to what he does best, which is tricking the refs. The last month, he has a bunch of 12 free throw games, 15 free throw games. So that helps him. That's how you can go 4 for 16 as he did last night and still score 25 points. But there's no reason that James Harden shouldn't have been able to will the Nets to victory last night, even without KD and LaMarcus Aldridge. Can you believe that? LaMarcus Aldridge, the key third man for the Brooklyn Nets, against a Rockets team that I know they're on a winning streak that you and I predicted, much to Kevin Wilde's chagrin. But that Rockets team doesn't have a single top 60 player. And outside of Christian Wood, they don't have a single top 120 player. And so why wasn't Harden better? And here's the answer, Broussard. Because he plays lazy basketball right now. He doesn't take any twos. He settles for all threes. And he turns the ball over. And he's 32 years old, and you just wonder, like, why is it going to get better? So, no, I think it is a big deal. I think this is a guy who is supposed to be, without a doubt, one of the 6 best players in the sport, and thus far this year, he hasn't been one of the 36 best players in the sport. And so, yeah, I think it's a big deal, and I think it's a sign of how his season has gone.
Wow. Okay, I don't think the loss is a big deal. It's one of 82. And it's not surprising at how James Harden played. And that's the big deal. Like you said, like this is no longer a surprise. That he shoots, 4 for 16, whatever he was. I mean, those nights happen now to James Harden. I wouldn't go as far as you to say he hadn't been one of the best 36 players. James Harden is averaging 20.5 points a game. 8 rebounds or 7.5 rebounds and 9.5 assists. He should be an all-star this year. The problem is they need him to be a superstar, the superstar that they traded for. Okay? If Kyrie Irving was there, this would be great what James Harden is doing. This would be fine, even though he's shooting 40%, which is his lowest since, as you said, he left OKC after his 3rd year. His 20 points a game, the lowest since he left OKC. But that would be great if you had Durant giving you 28 and Kyrie giving you 26. But without Kyrie Irving, I need James Harden to give me 25, 26 points a night. And I don't know there's only 3 explanations to me for what James Harden is doing. Number one, he had the worst hamstring injury in the history of mankind. All right, because he has not been the same since that hamstring injury. Number 2, and this might sound, in this day and age, it might sound strange. It might be age and attrition. You mentioned, Nick, he's 32 years old. He's in his 13th year. Listen to this. James Harden has played more regular season games than Larry Bird did in his career. James Harden is a dozen games away from equaling Allen Iverson's total games played. He's had a full career. And if you look at his body and stuff, and, has he taken big minutes, a lot of playoff games? Has he taken care of his body like a LeBron James? Like a Kevin Garnett? Like a Karl Malone? I'd say no. Okay, and so you have to, that's another consideration. Yes, he's still very good. But is he done being a superstar? And then the third one, Nick, is this. The pressure. We've all seen him in big pressure playoff moments. Not every one of those moments does he fold, but he's folded in a lot of them. And now the pressure is on again. He went to Brooklyn thinking, hey, I got KD, I got Kyrie, they can take the big shots. All I got to do is run the show, be the playmaker, give you my 20 a game.
Scary hours. Scary.
Now, now there's pressure. He's got to be the guy again, after KD.
Under duress.
And is he not liking playing with those expectation wilds? I think none of those 3 are good, and that's a problem for the Nets.
None of them are good reasons. And let me just push back for a moment on the All-Star stuff and Wilds. I think because the counting numbers are obviously good. They're not great, but they're good. But when you add to the fact that he leads the NBA in turnovers, 5 a game, and there are 50 guys shooting as many times a game as him. He's 46th in field goal percentage. Okay, so it's super inefficient, a lot of turnovers, not high volume scoring, but good rebounding and assist numbers. Like, to me, I'd have to go through. I said,
so
he's not top
he's
36. Unfortunately, Wilds. Well, I'd have to go through. Listen, I got to go through. I'm not sure right now. I'd have to think, is there actually 35 guys? I'm not quite certain. I'll have that for you in about 8 minutes. But right now, I just think I think he's worse Wilds than the numbers even suggest.
He hasn't been top 20, maybe 25, right?
Okay. So we previewed the graphic that I will show in 1 minute, and the doctors on the set laughed at me, and they're just itching to tear this graphic apart. Stand by. I'm going to posit that this all started with the hamstring. And the chain reaction of, hey, who is Harden, started with that hamstring injury in March. And here's what happened. Had a hamstring injury, came back, couldn't condition. So now conditioning is off. All right, his conditioning is off. He talked about that earlier in the year. Then what happens? Lack of explosiveness. Okay, lack of explosiveness. Then you can't get separation. You can't get to the basket. He doesn't get a ton of foul calls. He gets out of rhythm. He loses confidence, and that affects the chemistry of the team. That all started with the hamstring. Now, can we show the graphic of his points before the hamstring injury, after the hamstring injury? Whether or not it was a huge deal, not a big deal, whether he trained it right. Broussard, we know that the guy had pretty much an injury-free career. I'm not 100% sure that he dealt with this hamstring the right way. Now, there's some other wild cards out there. I think missing Kyrie, obviously a wild card. The rule changes, wild card. I think the new ball is a little bit of a wild card. Cuban talked about it yesterday on social media. But I think it all starts with the hamstring. And as the hamstring starts to get better, I expect James Harden to get better.
I think that's fair because there's no denying the numbers. He was great before the hamstring. Now, Wilds, he did play well against Boston. 27 points a game, 10 assists, something like that, 7 rebounds in the playoffs. And then he re-aggravated the injury and obviously has not been the same since. So I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't remember a hamstring injury being this damaging to one player. And let me say this. You guys know I picked Brooklyn to win it all before the season. They're not winning the East. If Milwaukee's healthy, they're not winning the East with this James Harden. They need James Harden to be the superstar. They are 0-6 guys against Phoenix, Golden State, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Miami. They're 0-6. All right? I've written for James Harden. I've written hard for James Harden. I've said he's one of the all-time elite scorers and playmakers, and that's a rare combination. But I am so disappointed. I am only Mrs. Harden is maybe more disappointed in his play than me.
Can't beat anyone off the dribble anymore either.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.